Good afternoon, guys. Good afternoon. This is Tucker, also known as Hagrid, back for another episode of Tucked In. Here with BB, and we are going to look at September and see if we have any potential volatility incoming. Make sure to hit that like and subscribe, and let's jump into it. September usually is decently bearish, and I'm going to go through just a few examples. Obviously, we've had a little bit of downside into the end of August. But yeah, I think this time kind of probably going to be the same. I'm not super worried about downside in September, I will say, but I think we're going to have some volatility, to say the very least. So I think we're going to have a little up and down, but let's try to figure out exactly when and where that's going to come. So for me, I just like to start blank chart, Bitcoin weekly chart. Okay, I'm going to mark out. Let's just go monthly, actually, so we can mark out different Septembers and what they did super quick. So if you'll remember, last September was green, but there was a wick all the way down here, and the top wick was right there. So basically 26% green from bottom to top. Okay, let's go back another year. We were green, 10%, bottom wick to top wick. Let's go back one more year. We were red, top wick to bottom wick, 20%. Let's keep going. Let's keep going. We were red, bottom to top wick, 25%. September here, we were red, 20%, top wick to bottom wick. Let's see here, we were red, 30%. And here we were red, 17%. So going back to 2018, red, 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 green, green. Okay. I'm seeing a slight shift, right? We're seeing a slight shift. We were red 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times in a row. The last two have been green. Given kind of our macro state and that we probably are getting cuts in September, I do think it's going to be a green month, actually. But that does not mean that we can't get some downside between here and there. So and especially with this formation Bitcoin's putting in, right? Like this, you could potentially say we're seeing some bearish divergence on the MACD relative to price, right? That's pretty simple. RSI says the same thing. So what you don't want to see is this thing cross, obviously. But anyways, let's go back to the weekly. Let's look at what we think September could look like. We'll do Bitcoin, ETH, SOL, XRP, whatever. Here's kind of what I'm thinking. Given that we've said, and it's played out multiple times, that this cycle is a lot more like 2017 in terms of the stair step, right? We've seen it a few times throughout these ranges. We've just kind of stair stepped higher, right? Kind of doing it again. Even this wick, just stair stepping higher, exactly like 2017. 2021, not so much. We just pretty much ran straight up, had a big correction, double topped. This cycle is indeed different from last cycle. Seasonality wise too, right? Obviously, usually Q1 is great for seasonality. We had a pretty horrendous Q1 this year. So seasonality is somewhat out the window. But just wanted to start with this, right? Like showing Bitcoin's stair step higher. Now, if we're just projecting out in September, right? So we're really just worried about right here. Okay, we'll go down to the daily. We're really just worried about what's going to happen between here and here. If I had to take a stab in the dark, okay, for me, Bitcoin reclaiming this range above basically 112 is a big deal. well, really 114. Actually, if we're going to go based on volume, 114 would be a huge reclaim. If not, if we continue to kind of hang out down here, I'm going to go to the 12-hour. If we continue to hang out down here and just kind of do this and look kind of weak, I would be shocked if we didn't do something like that, right? I would be shocked if we did not have a rinse in September, at least, a downside wick, right? Whether that comes all the way to 105, we stop at 107. I do not think we're getting 98, 99, 100. I don't think we're going to go that deep, but that's at any rate. We will have a downside wick on the monthly, right? I very much doubt that we're just going to go up the entirety of September. So that's why I titled this volatility incoming, because I don't necessarily think we're just going to go up or we're just going to go down. I do think that we're probably going to do something like this, right? And obviously this is our end date. This is what we care about. So I would guess something like this, right? I do think we're going to end the month green. I do think we're going to have a big Q4. So I don't think it's going to be set up super bearishly at the end of the month, but I do think we're going to have some stabs lower, right? I just want to put that out there. Just given the look of Bitcoin, just given, historically how we performed, obviously we do have a rate cut coming. That's not a small deal. So I do indeed think we're going to have volatility incoming in September. So just wanted to throw that out there. Let's go through some other charts though. Let's check out ETH. Let's check out Sol. Like I said, XRP. We can look at some other stuff. So this actually played out really well. We mapped this out on Market Check live this morning. It's Wednesday, August 27th, but we did map out this short on Market Check this morning. So that is actually playing out. But anyways, that's not important. Not important. If I expect a rinse lower for me, it's early September, by the way. It's probably the first 10, 12 days of September. I do expect it to be pretty bear choppy. And for ETH to kind of form a range like this. Let me get rid of everything else there. This is kind of how I'm expecting ETH to range, at least until mid-September, which I'll mark it out pretty much here. Okay, I'm not really expecting fireworks unless you see Bitcoin flip 115. Then I'll look for that. But honestly, I'd be looking for something like this. Another stab at 4K. Maybe the stab is just right here, but something like this. I do think we're going to get lower prices on ETH here in the short term. So that's just fine. That's just fine. But yeah, this is kind of my expected range for ETH for at least the next, what is it? The 27th, the next 15 to 18 days, basically. This, and then maybe stab the top of the range, come here, set a higher low. That would be the 1, 2, 3, and then we get the fourth tap and we go through. Something like that is what I'd expect out of ETH. So just wanted to map that out for you guys. Sol's actually in a different position. I'll get rid of that line real quick. Yeah, Sol looks a lot better, actually. Sol looks like ETH at about 3K. And Sol is next in line to set a new all-time high, right? We had Bitcoin set one a long time ago. We had ETH do it recently. Sol is up. Sol is up to bat. So obviously we're going to have resistance here. But if we're talking September, let's go mark that out. Okay. We'll drop down. If I'm thinking Bitcoin does what I just described as well as ETH, I think your best outcome for Sol is more sideways or even bull chop like this, basically. Kind of more stabs here, maybe monthly opens down here, whatever, something like that. I probably drew that incorrectly, but I do think you're going to get less downside on Sol in September than you probably will on ETH, and maybe not Bitcoin, but I do think Sol, ETH, and Sol BTC actually have some room to move up. So for me, I think, you know, you get your early September rinse, rate cuts, bang, right? Something like that. Not expecting anything crazy. But I do think we're gonna have some pretty good volatility. I mean, that's a decent range, right? Like that's a 25% range basically that I think we're gonna hang out in. So for me, for Sol, it's basically that, you know, like I would love to see this hold, this 175 to 180 level. I think if you start putting in weekly closes above 200, 210, 205, whatever, then you can talk about more imminent upside up to like 250, 260. So those are my levels on Sol. That's kind of my bias for the next couple of weeks. You can look at XRP real quick. As long as it continues to hang out above value area high, I have no problem with it. You know, this whole area up here, I think you're going to have decent support. So I wouldn't hate another stab into this, right? Like I said, early September, maybe take another stab into this. It looks like it's over. And then we get rate cuts. And here we go into Q4. So, yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on XRP. Yeah, I don't know. I just think the next September, I mean, you could probably just turn off your screen and come back at the end of the month and maybe we'd be slightly higher. Bitcoin probably maybe be at the same price, but ETH and Sol, XRP, I think will be higher at the end of the month. But I do think there's going to be some shakeouts, and you know, like I get it, right? Like this. Oops. I get the cycle top callers, right? Like I think we're gonna have a lot of those in September, by the way. But like this, you know, I get. Right, weekly's turning over. What happened the last time we dropped? Like, you know, what happened the last time we dropped 25%? What happened the time before that? We dropped 30%. So it did cross. It did cross right here, basically. So, I mean, 25% would be definitely not okay. Definitely not okay. But this is where you need it to floor out, right? Like you need Bitcoin to hold 105 and at worst 100, you know, like that needs to be the floor. If you're going to form like a range up here, right? If you're going to form a range in here, kind of like you did back here, but a little more sideways. So, you know, something like that. I doubt we go that deep though, but yeah, that's kind of my thoughts. I think that if we're going to pull back, it's going to be within 15 to 18 days from now, you know, now through early September. I think we're going to have a good second half of September and probably a fantastic Q4. So those are my thoughts on majors going into September. Volatility indeed incoming. But yeah, that's it for the video, and I will see you guys next week. I hope you guys stay safe and have a great rest of your day. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe. I almost forgot to do that. All right, see you guys.